What's up, y'all? This is Neena Perez, and this is Straight Talk, No Sugar Added. I like my intro, but it comes fast. I remember it was longer before. Now it's like, Anyway, guys, thank you so much for being here. As you know, I like to have like really good conversations with really good people to grow, challenge, and transform your thinking. So today I found Brad Carlson for you, and he is a health and wellness coach. He's the author of Mind Strong, a step-by-step guide for how to transform your life and raise your success. He's a podcaster of Be Well, Be Safe. Come on, guys, and Be Happy, Eat Ice Cream. Hello. All right. So if you have ever felt unfulfilled, or have more of that life that you want to currently experience, I think you're going to have to want to listen to this podcast and connect with Brad, because he is super fun. I already enjoyed talking to him even before we got on here. So Brad, thank you so much for coming on Straight Talk. How are you?
I am doing wonderful, Nina, and absolutely the pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm so excited about this day. I got goosebumps already. I can't wait to get into this and talk with you more.
Awesome. And I love that you're a podcaster. I love connecting with podcasters because I think that we know what it is, right? We know the hustle. We know how much work it is. It's also a lot of fun and a good way for us to like really spread our message out there. So before we get into the nitty gritty, Brad, I want to know a little bit more about you. So tell us who you are. That's a little question, but go ahead and go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. As I was saying before, we even started recording. I grew up in Colorado, lived most of my life in the Northwest in Oregon. I'm a world traveler. I speak 3 other languages. I lived
Awesome.
overseas for many years. And like everybody, I got married and was raising a daughter, a stepdaughter. And life caught up with me, and I got super overweight and out of shape and became a couch potato. And that is what started my whole journey that led me here to be with you today.
Were you was the weight gain at that time, or was that something you always kind of struggled with, or how's that for you?
No, it was, I was always been an active person involved in sports and was very active through my 20s. But once, I settled down in my 30s, it was actually, yeah, right around 29, 30 years old, I settled down. My wife and daughter at the time, they immigrated here to America from the Philippines, and I just got caught up in life. I worked every day, just like everybody does. Had a great job, but very demanding, working with a nonprofit. It was like 9 to 8 o'clock, usually 5 days a week and half days on Saturdays. And the last thing that became a priority for me was my health.
Yeah.
And then suddenly one day I woke up. I mean, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was sitting on my bed in our bedroom, and I just looked at myself, and I had not realized how much weight I had gained and how overweight I was, how out of shape I was. But I had this huge, for men, we call it like a spare tire in front, or a Santa Claus belly, pot belly, something like that. And this was November 2009. I mean, I still remember this because I tell this a lot. And I was just mortified. I was disgusted. I was just deeply disappointed. Like, how can I let myself get to this situation? And then that wasn't actually the start of the journey, because now the entire year, November 2009 to November 2010, I didn't do a single thing. I looked at myself in the mirror on my bed that day. I was disgusted. I still was not motivated to do something. But in that year, I learned something very, very valuable. And this is why they say you should fail. You should make mistakes. I always tell people,
100%.
fail, make mistakes, because those are your greatest assets. And I love this quote that a friend of mine once told me. He said, failure is the engine of success. And so that first year, 2009 to 2010, where I didn't do anything, I didn't lose a single pound, and I failed, that gave me the secret ingredient that I tell everybody, that if you want to, take your life to the next level, if you want to, be that better version of you, whatever that is, you absolutely need this secret ingredient, and it's called determination. And all of a sudden I had that determination. And so I started another health program. It's called P90X. And I lost about 40 pounds within that. I think it's a 12-week program. But then, like anybody, I gained it all back. I didn't know what I was doing or how to do it. So I spent the next 2 years trying to figure out, well, going through that, you gain it, you lose it, you gain it, you lose it, you gain it, you lose it cycle. And I remember about, I don't know, 6 months in or something, I was trying to, get the belt on my waist back to the notch where I normally have it. And it just wasn't going there. And that's when I realized I had gained about 20, 25 pounds back already. This was like 6 months or a year into the journey.
Right.
And I just started plugging away, and that's what you have to do. You have to
Yeah.
just keep plugging away until one day this is my first awakening. I asked the question, why am I doing this?
Right.
So
Right. Right.
if you're on a journey, to either lose weight or to get healthy or to start a business, whatever you want, you have to have an answer to that question. Why? Why am I doing this?
Mhm. Mhm.
And on
Mhm.
that fateful day, the answer came to me. It was through a series of events that I had had happen in my life over the last 6 months that told me my why, that said, this is why I'm doing this. And that became my foundation, the roots for everything else. And it was from that moment forward that I kind of dedicated myself to this idea of being healthy. And it was no longer about losing weight. And that was the second part of it. So you fail, you get determined, you understand your why, but then you have to make a decision. And this is the
Right.
impactful decision that you will ever make. Who do you want to be? So I
Mhm.
want to
Mhm.
be healthy. I want to be this thing called healthy. And everything in my life started to revolve around that. And then all of a sudden, I don't know, gosh, 4 years into my journey, I said, oh, I wonder if I could teach and coach this to other people. And
Mhm.
it just kind of took off from there. And I've been blessed to coach hundreds of youth students,
Oh,
coach
great.
tons of adults from all walks of life and just in all variety of situations. And I always tell them, everything I just told you, but the other thing I always tell them is everything. This was my second awakening, if you will, that what you focus on, you become.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
Really important. So always focus on being that person that you want to be. Have that
Right.
vision in mind of what does the best version of me look like.
Right.
That's what you
Right.
want to focus on. That's what you want to put your energy on. And then all the action that you take to accomplish that, it just kind of automatically starts to fall into place. Um, Podmatch is a perfect example. I had never even heard of it. And I woke up one day and I had an email from this guy named Alex telling me about Podmatch and that I should join up. And so I actually researched it and talked with him a little bit. And the next thing you know, here I am and met you
Right.
on the podcast. And so that's how it works. Just when you commit to the highest vision of yourself and being that person you want to be,
Mhm.
everything
Mhm.
else just starts to fall into place.
Yeah, so you said a lot there, and a lot of things I want to touch on too, because I think it's really important, especially when you're going on this journey, right? So one of the things I love is the very beginning in 2009 when you got up one day and you just like realized that you had gained that much weight. And there's something that happens, right? It's like something like a veil falls off of your eyes or something clicks. And I think people need to understand that, especially people who don't understand why people struggle with their weight. It's not all the time that they even realize that they're struggling with their weight. They are trying to survive, whether it's working, like you said,
Mhm.
long days, long hours, paying your bills, taking care of your family. And you don't even realize as you're eating that donut when you're sitting at your desk or you're not walking around because you're literally focused on your work 12
Yeah.
hours a day. And that can sneak up on you. And people are like, oh, how can it sneak? It does. It sneaks up on you. And then one day you're going, holy crap, I
Yeah.
got like 70 pounds on me that I have
Yeah.
to lose. Here's another powerful thing you just said. You didn't do anything about it.
I didn't. Not for that first year.
Right? I
Nothing.
know. It's something that happens. I don't know what that is, and I think that's something that we try to discover as we go, right? That moment when you realize I don't really like me right now. I don't like what I see. I don't like what I feel. But then you distract yourself with work, with other things, and before you know it, it's a year has gone by and you were waiting for that Monday or that, that new month to start or the new year, whatever it is, that doesn't come. Right. And that's why I love that you said you have to think about, you have to be intentional. You have to make a decision. Right. But and not everybody is like immediately making that decision though. Right, Brad? So how do you start working with people and telling them, if you don't, because I'm sure that there's a way that you're doing this where they're not going to just keep waiting for the next Mondays to keep coming, right? The next beginning of the week, I'll start Monday. Monday never comes, Brad.
Yeah.
I've had like 20 years of Mondays. You know what I'm saying?
Right, right.
So tell me, like, what is it that you're what you're taking your clients through. How does that start for you, that journey?
It starts with that question, who do you want to be? What's that
Yeah,
highest vision of you look like? And then why? You have to know those 2 parts. And
right,
then this is the challenging part. You have to tap into some of those painful emotions. You know, those painful emotions are actually the fuel that will fire you to get moving. So for me, those painful emotions were disappointment, uh,
right,
disappointment, shock that I had gotten that overweight, and then just pure disgust with myself. And we have to take these emotions. So, how are you feeling right now? You're here on the phone with me, on a Zoom call, something like that with me. What brought you here? Why are you here? What's going on? We have to tap into that.
right, right,
Because there's something that made you get on that call. There's something that, has brought you here. What are those emotions that you're feeling? And they can be negative emotions. And those negative emotions, like I had, are going to be your best friend, because now we're going to use those emotions to
yeah,
change the quality and course of your life. Because
mhm,
now we know, this is key. Now we know who we are and who we don't want to
don't
be.
wanna be,
I'm
mhm,
this overweight couch potato, dare I say lazy. I had become a true couch potato. I mean, I was so exhausted when I got home. The only thing I did was pop on the TV and sit there.
right, right, right,
And so all of these emotions, these feelings were, I just, they came to the surface that day. I sat on my bed and I
mhm,
just looked at myself and I saw this huge spare tire, um, Santa Claus belly. And that was the moment that said, this is not right. I'm disgusted. I am just, disappointed. But the thing is, I didn't do anything for that first year.
right,
This sometimes is what needs to happen. You may have these same emotions, but like I said, failure is the engine of success.
mm,
In
mhm,
order for you to succeed and get to your point B, you have to fail. There's
right,
just no other way. You cannot, unless you're, I don't know, like Michael Jordan right out of the womb or something with all these skills and talents.
right, right,
I don't know how else you get to be that new version of you without messing
that
up, without
work,
making
mhm,
mistakes, without work,
mhm,
without failing. And so
right,
that's, a higher power realized that within me, because that first year I did not have that determination.
mhm,
Now
mhm,
that I have that, I can apply that to everything in my life, because that is
right,
so powerful within me. So you want to start a business, you need to be determined. You want
right,
to, have a successful relationship, you need to be determined to have that successful relationship.
yeah,
So you have to tap into that emotions, and I have to get the client focusing, okay, this is who you are now, but let's look at who you become, because that was another awakening that I had. What you focus on, you become.
right,
And
right,
then one more key piece of this puzzle, and I just talked to another coach, this was probably 2, 3 months ago, but he summed it up very beautifully in a quote for me that helps me explain this next principle. You don't manage time, you manage priorities.
that's true,
You
that's true,
manage your priorities. And so
mhm,
now we've got you with the emotion. We've got this vision of what you look like. We need to work on your why. I
mhm,
take you
mhm,
through a 5 levels of why exercise. You might be familiar with that. But now we've got to make this a priority. How do we
right,
make this a priority? If you don't do this, you're going to be right back where you are. So you have to deal with that love and fear emotion.
yeah,
There's the fear of going back to the old way, but
yeah,
there's the love of becoming the new you. If I think about the
yeah,
new me, you see, I get excited, my eyes light
right,
up. And if I think about the old me, even 13, almost 14 years ago now, that couch potato version of me, I get very sullen and sulk. I'm like, no, that Brad is dead. I don't want to be that
that
Brad.
right, right, but so
No.
tell me, so Brad, when you were, because here's the thing. I when I was listening to your story, I know that you said that you had that first year you did nothing, but then something clicked and you did something, right? Because you lost some weight. Then you gained it back, right? And then some, which is a lot of our story. A lot of our story is this back and forth thing, right? So when you went, what was it the second time that you were sitting there and you said, I just can't do this crap no more? You know what I'm saying? Like what, because you gained it back,
Mhm.
right? And so I mean, so that's I think the yo-yo part that
Mhm.
people tend to not necessarily overcome, right? So they lose the 50, 60 pounds, they gain 70. They lose 40 pounds, they
Mhm.
gain 30. So what was that pivoting moment for you where you said, this has been 13, 14 years. Now you can say this has been 13, 14 years ago. So what I'm trying to say is the Brad today, right?
Mhm.
What was it that you decided 13, 14 years ago that gave you the Brad that you are right now?
In November 2010, that feeling of disgust reemerged, only this time it was more amplified. That feeling had more intensity to it, and
Mm,
that's what allowed me to be determined. Now, once I lost the weight, yes, I went through that yo-yo cycle until I remember this very vividly. I was trying to work out on my gym
mhm,
equipment at home. I had a stationary bike at that time and everything, and I was just not motivated. I was just not feeling it, and I had gained, I don't know, I think 12 pounds, 15 pounds back when during this time. And I just got up. I remember I put the bar back on the rack and I stood up and I just asked, why am I doing this?
mm,
And that was my first awakening, really. And when I understood the why part of it, that's why I say this journey, you have to understand your why. That's what allowed me to make that decision. It was no longer about losing weight. It was about
right,
being
right.
healthy.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
so that moment allowed me to make that decision. That was my aha moment that allowed me to choose. And so whatever you have going on in your life, you have to have that moment. You have to make that decision where you choose who you're going to be. I'm going
Mhm.
to be a thriving, excelling podcaster that does, X number of shows a week in X number of countries, spreading message of peace, love, and harmony throughout the world. That's who I am, as an
Right, right.
example. So if you're sitting at home right now and you're thinking, okay, my point A is wherever I am in my life right now.
Mhm.
What does my point B look like? What is dream? That's what they say, dream wild, dream crazy. We could do another podcast on what my dreaming wild and crazy looks like and is all about. But you have to make that decision that says it's either forward or bust. There is no going back. And
Mhm.
the way you tap into that is you think about the joy and pleasure of becoming that new you versus the pain of going back to the old you.
Right, right.
And that second year, I was just, like I said, the emotions were even more amplified, how disgusted I was. And then, gosh, it was about 6 months later when I had that aha moment, why, that was the question I asked myself, why am I doing this? And the answer that came to me, I had a number of events that went on in my life during those 6 months that came to me was I'm doing this to take care of my mind, body, and spirit. And if I
Right.
take care of myself, my mind, body, and spirit, my mind, body, and spirit will take care of me. And in
Mhm.
that moment, I realized I wanted to be healthy. What was my point B? I didn't know what my point B was for those first, however many months of the journey. It was
Right.
in that moment I discovered my point B. And so that's what you have to do. You first have to know where you're going. What
Mhm,
is your
mhm.
point B? Whatever field you're in, business, school teaching, you've got to be thinking, what does my point B look like? And that point B, this is another important lesson that I learned, actually only over the last couple of years. I think I have to admit I got a little bit lucky when I discovered my point B so early. But you have to sit down and look, okay, what does the best version of me feel like? Is it
Mhm.
thriving? Is it love? Is it joy? Is it peace? Who are you choosing to be? I
Right.
interviewed one lady last week that just knocked the socks off of me. She blew me out of the building. She had overcome a tremendous amount of adversity in her life, from physical abuse, sexual abuse, you name it, starting from a very early, stage in childhood. And I said, how did you overcome that? And she said, one thing, Brad, I chose to stand and rise. I chose to live life.
Right. Right.
And that's the difference for anybody, is what you choose and what you decide. And the way you
Right.
choose is that you realize that the old way is not going to work for me.
Mhm, mhm.
That only the
Mhm.
new way will work for me. I have no choice. Only this new way will work for me. And that's what
I
I was
love
able
that. I
to
have no
do.
choice. Mhm.
Yeah, that's what I was able to do with my health. And so once I figured that out, I lost the weight again. And then I finally lost the last 10 pounds that men carry around about, I don't know, 5, 6 years ago. And I've created this lifestyle that it's just everything. I call it the effortless effort stage now when it comes to health. Everything is just on autopilot now. I know
Right.
I can eat the ice cream when I want and go right back to living healthy, the next day or whatever. So it's not that big
Right.
a deal. It's just I'm very blessed and lucky to have this part of my life on, really under control. Now there are other parts of my life that I'm still dealing with in some
Yeah,
areas,
of course, it's life, right?
but
That's
that's my
life.
Yeah. So
Yeah, and that's where I was gonna go with the next questions too. Was like, I know that for me, weight has always been this thing too, which I'm now learning to take control of and doing all the why, and that in my life as well. I also feel like I don't know if that you needed this, but for me, I also need accountability, right? So I have like accountability partners and stuff like that that I work through with, because they keep me accountable on the days I don't want to lift the weights, on the day I don't want to work out. You know what I'm saying? So I think that that's why what you do is so important, Brad, because people need that, right? That partner that's going to be there with them, that partner that's lost weight too. They know what it is to struggle. What were the moments? Because I'm sure you had them. Maybe let's see. What were those moments when maybe you struggled? Maybe you like had that day you fell off, right? Those moments you fell off during your journey, or was it just a smooth sailing journey from you from decision to where you are today?
that's an interesting question. So, in terms of the being healthy, it sort of became smooth sailing, but I've definitely
Oh, wow,
struggled
that's
in
awesome.
other areas. And the reason it became smooth sailing is because I was 100% focused on this idea of being healthy.
Oh,
Now,
that's
okay,
good.
so one big mistake I made that I will tell everyone is I took it to the extreme. So I always like to tell this part of the story too. I went from being super unhealthy couch potato to super healthy, like OCD. No, I'm not touching that cookie. I'm not touching that ice cream. If it wasn't green, if it wasn't natural, if it wasn't
Right.
organic, I wasn't touching it. If it was something I perceived as a bad habit, like staying up late and drinking, well, that might affect my sleep pattern, blah, blah, blah. I wouldn't do it. Well, that
Right.
doesn't work either. And so I had to so probably the biggest struggle I had with the health journey is learning to find balance.
Balance. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so much balance.
Yeah.
And it finally happened. I think it was 2015, 2016. So about 5, 6 years into the journey, actually, there was a holiday party, and I'm like, and this is what I originally taught my clients. I said, go into this with an intention, have a plan, know before you go.
Right.
What are
Right.
you
Right.
gonna eat? What are you not going to eat? That logically, that sounds good, right? That makes sense. And I did that. And I was so like at the end of the party, I was like, yeah, I did it. I ate everything healthy. I stuck to my plan. Yay, me. And I got home and I felt terrible. I was miserable. And for the next couple
No.
of days, I was miserable and I couldn't figure out why. And then I realized it's not what I ate, it's what I didn't eat. Life's not going to
Ah.
end if you have a cookie. Life's not going to end if you have a mixed drink, a cocktail. Life's not going to end if you have some cake
But
every.
was that scary though, Brad? Because I mean, I would think for me, I'd be petrified, right? Because I'm like, if I have that damn cookie, I'm gonna gain my weight back. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so how did you overcome that psychologically? Because if you went from like, completely I'm a couch potato to completely I'm extreme and I'm not touching anything, where was that balance, right? Because you don't want to lose yourself. I mean, you went from one extreme already to the other. I'm assuming you would have been a little bit timid or afraid of maybe going back to the other extreme. Did that cross your mind?
It did until I learned another important lesson, and I'll give it to you
Okay.
in 2 words. Trust yourself.
Oh, that's good. And not
Trust
easy. Sometimes
yourself.
because you beat up yourself so much through this journey of weight loss, you don't trust yourself. So that is powerful, right? Like to learn to trust yourself, because when you go to somebody, when you go up on your weight and then down, and you're doing well and then you self-sabotage, right? And then you go back up and down, you don't trust yourself. So that's important. I mean, that must have been something you had to work on, right?
It was until it wasn't, until I
Mhm.
realized that, oh, I have the skills and knowledge for me personally
Mhm.
now in my
Mhm.
own journey that I can eat that cake. That's why I said at the beginning, I can eat that cake, I can eat that ice cream, and then just pick right up with the healthy living. The
Right.
reason so many people struggle with it, in particular with the weight journey, weight on, weight off, is because what are they focused on? They're focused on losing weight.
Right.
Or focusing
Right,
on
right, right,
gaining
right,
fat.
right.
They're not focused on becoming a better version of themselves, and that's the
Right.
difference. I'm gonna send you actually, Nina, when we're done here, the book I just wrote on all of this, and you can take it and read it. And a lot of what I'm saying here is in that book. But that was one of the differences. And so when I realized, you know what, I can trust myself.
That's
I
great.
have this power to understand health within me now. I understand about healthy eating now. I had to like teach myself all of
I was
this.
gonna
Like
ask you that. Yeah. Okay.
I'm 100% self-taught. And what I mean by that is I devoured the internet. I devoured blogs. I devoured books. I devoured, self-help seminars and personal growth seminars. I
Mhm.
went to everything. And this is a key part of my journey, how committed I was and how serious I was. I took 6 months. And a big part of this is, you'll probably know, Nina, is your belief system. What do you believe? I was
Mhm.
healthy. Well, let me say this. I was fit, but I was not healthy. That's a whole nother story. And I was
Right.
fit at this time. I was doing triathlons, 5Ks, 10Ks,
Wow.
half
From couch
marathons.
potato. Good
Yeah,
for
from
you,
couch
man.
potato. But I still believed that I was not worthy. And that was an
Mm,
underlying fear. So part of what I was
powerful.
doing was motivated by fear that I didn't think I was worthy or good enough. So one day I picked up this book, and I wish I remembered the name of it, but it talked about limiting beliefs and everything like that. So I took a notebook and I wrote down every single belief I had that I could think of in my life that I thought was limiting me and preventing me from becoming the best version of me, whether it was about money, about health, about relationships, personal, professional, family, about adventure, about anything. And I
Right.
went through each question, painstakingly went through every single question over 6 months. I had 36 times two because it was front and back. So I had 72 pages of notes, front and back.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
this is during the
awesome.
middle. Now I was divorced by then, so I had a little bit more time, but this was in the middle of working full time and coaching full time. So coaching full time, like at a high school level, is usually 20 to 30 hours a week, on
Mhm.
top of working 40 to 50 hours a week. So it's not like I had extra time on my hands to do
Right.
this. But what did I say earlier? You manage your priorities.
Right. Right. Right.
So a good question for anyone listening, what are your priorities? My
Right.
priorities, I always say, are God, health, and family.
Mhm.
And what if something is a priority for you, like your health, it's not your weight, it's your health, it's your
Mhm.
fitness.
Mhm.
If
Mhm.
that's a priority for you, then everything else kind of just automatically falls into place. Now, health was a deeply held value of who I was. I started going on this health track way back in high school because I was a skinny kid and everybody said I had to bulk up. So I started reading the muscle magazines and Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I learned all about steroids. And I tried every supplement to gain muscles except steroids. And I could have done steroids. Steroids were easily accessible anywhere I went, but somehow, some way, I was smart enough to know not to do steroids. So I never did them.
Mhm.
And then several years later, I learned an important lesson from my coach that said, from a coach that I had said, well, if those steroids would help you, I would give them to you. But the truth is, they won't help you.
Mm.
And so you ask about other struggles in my life. I've definitely had some. I went through a divorce. I remember this story too. I'll just be very brief with this. I went to the liquor store. I don't know anything about liquor. I went in to buy something and I asked the lady, well, I don't know, what should I buy? And she says, well, what do you like? And I don't know. I'm like, I don't know, whiskey. And she's like, oh, we've got a cinnamon whiskey here. So she gave it to me. It was a bottle, I think it was 32 ounces, something like that. And I brought it home. This was about a month after my divorce had been finalized. And I brought it home and I set it on the cabinet. And my plan was to drink it. And I don't drink at all. I don't know anything about
Right.
alcohol. And then I remembered about 3 days, it sat there for about 3 days. And then I remembered that lesson again that my teacher taught me. He said, if you drink that alcohol, will it help you get to where you want to be?
Right.
And the
Right.
answer was no. And in that moment, clarity came to me. And I remember this. I opened I didn't even know how to really do it. I opened it, I twisted it up. I poured that entire, it was like $30 or something.
I was gonna say that's expensive.
Down the drain. I poured it all and threw the thing away, and I've
That's
always
awesome.
remembered that. Whatever action you're engaging in your life, this is a big question. Will it help you get to where you wanna go? Will it help you be the
Right.
person
Oh,
you wanna be?
so
So
good.
when you
So
fall
good.
off the horse, that's the question that I use now. Will it help me to get to where I wanna go, and why am I wanting to go there? So a lot of this work in I guess personal growth or development or whatever like that, it's not external, it's internal.
Internal.
It's
100%.
it's internal. And so is that a priority for you?
Mhm. Mhm.
And for
Mhm.
me it was. And so that's what we have to work on with the client too. So we have to know, where do you want to go? Why do you want to go there? Let's talk about
Mhm.
your commitment, and then let's talk about your priority. You know, how is your life going to be 5 years from now if you're where you are right now, or maybe only a step or two above where you are right now, maybe only one or two
Right.
steps above on the staircase, or do you want to be 100 steps above? You know, let's get
Yep.
real.
Yep.
And for a lot of clients, they've not heard this before. They're used to a number on the scale. They're used to counting calories in, calories out. That's the
Yep.
standard methodology for what is kind of in the mainstream media now. And everything I say is not counterintuitive to that. But I'm like, let's not focus on a number. Let's not focus on the weight. Let's not focus on exercise. Let's focus on
Mhm.
you being a better version of you. What does
Mhm.
that look like, and how do we get there? And why do you want to be this particular version of you? There's some versions
Yeah.
of me that, would not work. If you ask me, Brad, you should be extroverted or outgoing. That's not me at all. I'll say, I'm a
Right.
very introverted person. So it has to be something that really works for you, something that
Relates.
comes
Yeah.
deep within in you, that says, that screams at the top of your lungs, this is who I am. I am this person called health. I am being this thing called healthy. My
Yeah.
friend is
Love
being
that.
this thing called life. She is this thing called life. And that is what allowed her to overcome all that trauma and adversity that she had experienced. So it goes back to that basic question: who are you? Who are you?
Right.
And who do you
Right.
want to
That's
be? And
powerful.
that's the number one where you start. That's what you do at your point A, is you ask that question. And there is an answer to that question that will absolutely speak to you, that will make your heart sing. And you don't have to try to think of it. Just allow whatever powers you believe in to work their magic, and let that answer come to you. That's what happened to me that day. I was, like I said, I was putting the bar back on the rack, and I asked, why am I doing this? I didn't even
Right.
know anything I'm telling you right now. I didn't even know all this back then. This was in
Right.
2012 or 13, about 2, 3 years into my journey.
Yeah.
And that was the defining moment that finally allowed me to choose health over losing weight.
Right, right. That's powerful. And that's why, I wanted to ask you about that, that journey and those moments, because I think we lose ourselves a little bit in who we are. And I think that if we did touch on, no, I know that if we did touch on who we really are, it doesn't just will not only help you in your health, it helps you in your career, it helps you in your relationships, it helps you in your mindset, it helps you in all of that, because then you can authentically show up and you don't have to try to be anybody else but you.
Yes.
And that's a beautiful thing, because I believe in God. I believe God created us all uniquely and beautiful in the way he wanted to create us. And I just feel like, we squash that, we hide that, we try to be something we're not. And then that's why we are, well, at least the majority of people I see out there are unhappy, not connected. They don't know who they want. They're copycats. They're copy and paste.
Yeah.
Right. And I love that you did this. I know that we all need a helping hand, an accountability partner, somebody who's by our side, or at least somebody to connect with. I also love the fact that you did a lot of this work on your own,
Yeah.
with God and with your creator, with when you ask these poignant questions in your life and you got these amazing answers, right? Because now you're 14, 15 years in, and you made decisions 14, 15 years ago that now gives you the man you are today. And that's a beautiful thing. And that's what I want people to get out of this. Like, Brad made a decision 14, 15 years ago. Your 14, 15 years can start today, right?
It
So
can.
absolutely can. So Brad, I really enjoy you. I enjoy your energy. I enjoy who you are. And I love what you're bringing to the table and to the world. And so before I let you go, though, I know that I have a really beautiful community. The majority is women, but I have men on here too. And you work with both, I'm assuming, right?
Yes.
Both men and
Yes.
women? Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, great. So before I let you go, though, I do want you to drop, how people can work with you, how they can, find the resources and your book and all this great stuff. So let us know where all that lives.
Yeah. I want to say one more thing real quick, Nina,
Yeah,
and I'll be quick,
please.
I promise, before I get to that. First, thank you for allowing me to be on your show today. But
Oh, very
something else
welcome.
for everyone to think about: a lot of people ask, what can I do to lose weight? What can I do to
It's a
be an
great, yeah.
entrepreneur?
Mhm,
That's the wrong question.
mhm,
The
mhm.
right question to ask is, who can I be?
Yeah,
Who can
yeah.
I be to be an entrepreneur? Who can I be to lose weight? I can be
Mm,
healthy to lose weight. I can be, a thriving podcaster to be an entrepreneur. So again, thank you. For anyone
I love
wishing
that.
to reach out to me, the easiest way is my website, trainingwithcoachbrad.com. I've got a free guide on there that you can download for free. It's 6 elements to keeping weight off permanently, and access to my video cast and my podcast is on there as well, trainingwithcoachbrad.com.
Right. And you are taking on clients now too, right? They
Yes,
contact you?
absolutely.
Okay,
Mhm.
perfect. Perfect. Thank you so much, Brad. I love it. I
No,
love when
thank
people come
you.
on
Thank
here,
you,
and
Neena.
I love it. I love it when you come on here and just like connect with my audience and drop like all these beautiful gems. No, honestly, Brad, this is a great conversation. And I love that you are out there spreading that knowledge, because you could have easily taken all that you've done and just kept going, just kept doing what you do, you know?
It's
So
funny how life works. When I went to college, I was pre-med and pre-physical therapy actually, I have a minor in exercise sports science, but I never in a million, trillion, bazillion years imagined this would be my path, that I would be a health coach and hosting a podcast. So
I
it
know.
all
It's so
starts with
fun.
who you choose to be. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I love doing all of that. And guys, you are the best, and you know that. So thank you so much for being a part of the community. Make sure you go to winject.com/register, get your free profile on there, and become part of the community so that we can talk and converse and love on each other and all that great stuff. And make sure that you follow Brad. And if you want to work with him, I'm going to make sure to drop all of his info below, because this guy is great, right? I know you guys love him. His energy is great. What he's bringing to the table is great. His knowledge is great, all that stuff. So thank you guys for hanging out with us. This is Neena Perez, Straight Talk, no sugar added. Until next time.